Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold with your host, Bryan Vogt. Are you wanting or even thinking about selling your house but don't know where to start? Good thing you found Ready, Set, Sold. And now, real estate broker, Bryan Vogt.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. The Christmas season, the holiday season is fast approaching. We're looking at next week, and it's going to be the big day. So hopefully you either have finished all of your holiday shopping or that your lease started. So the one thing that you don't want to have is that panic. And even if you do have that panic, hopefully you'll be able to knock it out before Christmas Eve and get those gifts and get those things that you want. But I think most people know, especially maybe for myself, as you get older, it's more about just the season itself and what it brings to people, and people in a little bit better mood. With that said, we've got a big show today. We've got quite a few guests, and so I'm going to kind of get into that shortly. But first, I want to talk about the market. The market is still going strong. The housing market in the Metro East, whether you have O'Fallon, Shiloh, Edwardsville, Columbia, Belleville, all the surrounding areas, we've seen great success for sellers having their house in the market and getting the pricing they're looking for and the time factor that they want. Briefly, I've been doing this now for close to 7 months, but I always want to give people a reminder that this all started when I wrote a #1 best-selling book called Ready, Set, Sold, 12 Proven Steps to Get Your House Sold for Top Dollar and a Fast Sale. And that led to the radio program contacting me and doing a weekly program, and we've had some fantastic success with that. A few other ways, not only the radio program that you can contact us, or listen to the program, I should say. Number one, podcasts. Podcasts are becoming very, very big, and so all of the shows are on podcasts. You can go to Google Play or iTunes, and you can listen to those. You can take a segment. So, for example, our guests, if you would catch the show maybe in the middle or whatever, you can go back and you can listen specifically what you want, or you can listen to the whole show. And we'd love for you to like us on Facebook. And the last thing before we get started, I always want to give the opportunity. We're coming into the new year, and that is to get the book. The book, if you listen to this radio program, you can get the book for free. Go to ReadySetSold.org, not .com, ReadySetSold.org, not .com, and pick up the book because the new season is fast approaching in home sales, and you want to get ahead of the game. With that said, we do have a full show today, and my first guest I'm going to be introducing is co-owner of Cecil Management. Her name is Renee Wittenauer. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Good, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. I brought Renee on here because they do a lot of different things in property management, but one of the things that they do very, very well is the leasing department. And that's always a question that we find that comes up quite often. Again, maybe it's a military person that's leaving for a short time. They want to come back and retire in O'Fallon, but they get orders for 2 or 3 years. That's not as uncommon. It could be a person that is has a job transfer. We just see that happen not too long ago for a year or 2 years, but they still love the area. They want to come back to the Metro East and move back in. And the real question comes into is how do you know? How do you know? There's several of them out there, but how do you know what to look for? And Renee, I love you to address that topic. If you're in that situation, what do you look for when you're looking for somebody to lease your house out?
I think the number one question that I love whenever prospective owners ask me is, what can I do for them? So I want to understand what an owner's goals are. So if you have a military person where they're going to be leaving, for only 2 years and then they do want to come back and retire here, your property manager has to understand that your goals is to lease this house and have a successful lease and a successful experience, but only for 2 years. And then either you want to move back into it or you want to sell it. Because then your goals and your marketing and your pricing and everything can be helped geared towards meeting your particular needs, whether it's 2, 3, 5 years down the road. So definitely knowing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, definitely the property manager has to understand what the end result is for the owner.
I love what you said there because, again, and we do see that with other companies sometimes. It's just, you're leaving and whatever, and we treat you if you're leaving forever or if you're leaving for a short period of time. So I love that. I love that aspect of it, of making sure that the property manager asks exactly what your goals are and working together. That's what I'm hearing. That becomes a key element of what you're doing, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And from simple things that you may not think about, if the carpet has to be replaced due to a water leak, what type of quality are you wanting to do, or if an appliance breaks and you have to replace an appliance. So it can be from big to little stuff. The decision-making process, which your property manager is involved in, definitely you have to know the bigger picture whenever you're making those key decisions for them.
And I'm sure that it does happen on occasion. You need to have somebody that's making that decision, which is great. But hopefully it doesn't happen too often, right? I mean, hopefully that most of the leasing opportunities, and they could be longer than 2 years, or they could be 5 or whatever, that you have probably much, much more success stories. And I'm sure that might be something critical that a potential person would love to know, right? That'd be a question they want to know is, how do you operate? What kind of success stories are you having, correct?
Yeah, definitely. And, unfortunately, everybody has those horror stories of being a landlord, but in the almost 14 years I've been doing it, I have thousands of success stories, and it's success stories that work well for the homeowner, whether it's a homeowner that doesn't want to be a landlord. There's a lot out there where if they can't sell their house for whatever reason, or if the military does take them away, but they want to end up back here, they may not necessarily want to be a landlord, but the goal with a good property manager, especially one of my biggest goals, is I want those owners to someday go back and say, wow, that was a success and that worked. And we do that. And it's fun to do that. And it's fun to see a tenant be able to make memories and have a great tenancy, for however long they do it. But also for the owner to say, I just built up more equity in my house. My house is still in good condition. And it's a win-win for everybody. So a lot of success stories in that end. And that's a really, really fun part of my job, is getting to make that happen and see through the entire process of that happens.
Right, and I think that's really critical, and I love what you said there, because the one part that I really caught is that you, just listening to you, and I've known you for years, it's always great to work with someone that has some passion for what they do, and you tend to get the best of the best, and that's important. So when you're talking to somebody, and again, I don't know, I've just heard the stories, you've heard more of them, where it's just fill in the dots, do this, give me some money, and then we'll go check out your house. That may not be the direction you want to take, correct?
Correct, right. Yes, and it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all, that a property management company can say, this is our plan, this is what we do for every property, because what works for one may not work for the other. Of course, you want to have the general guidelines, and I do have my general guidelines, but, particular stuff may come up, say, for instance, walkthroughs. I recommend we get into a property at least once a year, but there's some owners, because of different situations, or, if they approve a pet and they don't want to, I get into that maybe 6 months, maybe quarterly. So there's definitely customization that you want to make sure your property management company can do for you, again, just so they can meet your needs in the end.
So, again, it's not a situation where you sign the thing and then somebody comes in. If that's what you're hearing from any property manager, you probably have the wrong one. If it's just, here we're going to put some marketing up and we'll get that person in and pricing and all those things, well, if it works, it works. That there's a lot more involved with it, and you should be expecting a lot more from your property manager, because this is your biggest asset, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I love whenever clients have high expectations for me. I love the challenge of it. I love to meet their expectations. And what I tell my team members is, hey, we have our policies in place, but always be willing to think outside the box, always be willing to go the extra mile to make it happen. We want to be that trusted one-stop shop source to take care of their property. And it can be, we've been able to get insurance quotes for people. Just, hey, I want to change my insurance company over. Do you have anybody you recommend? And So that's not in our normal property management, task that we do, but being able to help homeowners in that sense is fun too. So yeah, absolutely. You want a property management company that's not just going to do the ABCs of property management, but they're going to be able to go the extra mile and then communicate that with people as well. Communication is so easy. And if you have a property management company that is not communicating with you, whether that's emails or if you can't remember the last time that you talked to them on the phone, if you don't have an online portal where you can see the live transparent information, those would be concerns. So those are good questions that you want to come in there and ask as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and some great tips. And I think it again tells us, that we a few more questions, finding out, not saying on the dotted line, asking a few probing questions. How are you really going to communicate to me? What I'm hearing from you, Renee, is there should be a system. There should be ways of being able to make this all work, and I think that's fantastic. Well, we'll tell you what, we're running out of time in this segment, but you've been listening to Renee Wittenauer, part owner of Cecil Management Group. She's giving some great tips. We'll be back soon with Mark Cowgill of Community Title.